This podcast is brought to you by JList.com. It's almost May, and that means that JList has their May snack boxes available. You can get a taste of Japanese culture with JList snack boxes with traditional treats, trendy snacks, and even convenience store exclusives. They can all be within your reach, so you can see what makes Japanese snacks so special. So go experience the exotic chocolates and traditional fun dagashi snacks that Japan has to offer with JList snack boxes. So go get your JList snack box over at JList.com right now, and you can enjoy your Japanese snacks while you watch your Japanese anime, which is a true match made in heaven. And now it's time to start the podcast.
来てくれてありがとう. You're listening to the Anime Addicts Anonymous Podcast. Take your anime addiction to the next level at AAAPodcast.com/join. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the 470th, oh my god, episode of the Anime Addicts Anonymous Podcast. It's a lot of episodes. It is. I am your host, Mitsuki, and I'm happy to be here. I am joined by a lovely bunch. We have the wonderful Mandy, who is hailing from Cincinnati. And how are you doing,
Hailing
Mandy?
from my kingdom of Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah.
Of Kingdom of Chile. I'm doing all right. I am super hyped up on coffee, so I'm ready. I'm ready to do this shit.
I'm drinking Monster Energy, so bring it on.
Nice.
And of course, we have not Enzo from New York City, but we actually have Mason from Connecticut joining us yet again to fill in for both Enzo and Kazuo. So you have 4 shoes to fill. Good luck. And how are you, Mason?
Oh, I'm doing great. You know, play those disappointed air horns and sad trumpets. The edgy shadows. Enzo's lovable Sonic is back. Everyone wants the lovable Enzo, and you get me. And you know what? Don't be too disappointed. You know, we can't podcast together because we're just the same person, and that would just break all mayhem. So
this voice you're hearing, it's just nothing but filters in Adobe Audition.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, Mason, since you're here, what is the mission of the podcast? I know you know it.
I'm pretty darn sure it's to make our anime addiction.
We are going to make your anime addiction so worse that...
Worser.
The most worse. And if you want to help out the podcast, you can go over to our website, AAAPodcast.com/join, where we somehow managed to not talk about Game of Thrones today on Hobby Addicts. We talked about we talked about Lorelei, a game that Mandy's been playing. Mandy also watched a movie called Nitabo, which is an anime movie about the shamisen, which was pretty interesting. But then Mason and I did what I think was the wrap-up conversation on Sekiro, the recent samurai-based fighting game from action fighting adventure, whatever, like the newest Dark Souls style game from Software. So that was a pretty fun conversation. So you can get that Hobby Addicts episode over at AAAPodcast.com/join. And we'll be doing a hentai episode as well today after the podcast, so you can get that as well at the same place. And I should also mention the Facebook, the facebook.com/group/AAAPodcast, where we have the lovely Icy Rose has been kicking some ass on our social media, posting all kinds of content for you guys to enjoy. And it's been pretty lively over there as of late. And last but not least, our Discord channel, which has, I don't even know how many people, well over 1,000 people in there. So you can head over to the Discord via our website. Along the top is a button on the bar that says Discord, and you can join the Discord pretty easily. And we'll be looking forward to talking to you over there. So
Rob is commenting on Mason's avatar picture. It's not a stick of butter he's shoving in his mouth. It's a Castella cake.
It looks like a stick of butter.
But it does look like a stick of butter, but it's not.
Yeah, so Mason joined us on our Japan trip a couple years ago, and as we all know, if we know anything about Mason, it's that he likes to eat. And so the pic of the avatar has him shoving a massive, I'm just going to call it, it's a stick of butter. It looks like a huge stick of butter into his mouth.
It does, a little bit.
Indeed. So, also, Mason and Mandy both love manga and are both frequent members of the Manga Club, which is on our Discord as well. So today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about some manga, which is a little outside the box for the podcast, but we know that many of you out there enjoy your manga the same way you like your anime, so a lot of you are probably...
or your sticks of butter.
That's right.
You shove your manga in your mouth? I don't know how you read.
That's how I consume it.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
I'd
clearly be doing this all wrong.
I would like 2 toasted English muffins with jelly. Is what I would like. And we're also going to be doing our first.
Wait, what? Wait, where did that come from?
I don't know. If Mason gets a stick of butter to eat, I want English muffins.
What kind of jelly?
Okay.
What kind of jelly?
It's going to be strawberry jelly.
No, jelly, jam, preserves.
Preserves.
Okay, solid choice.
I want that chunks of strawberry. I want the
Heck yes, my
chunkiness.
dude.
I'm going chunky peanut butter, and I'm going chunky preserves on my English muffins toasted.
All chunk.
That's right.
Extra chunky, the most extreme chunky.
Truffle
There's
shuffle,
no peanut
baby.
butter. It's just nuts.
Extreme chunky.
Just peanuts.
All right.
Also, it is that time of year, so we have our spring impressions for you. We have the first round of our impressions from the spring season. We're going to be doing Demon Slayer, aka Kimetsu no Kaiba. We're going to be doing Senryu Shoujo, Kenja no Mago, One Punch Man.
You hear that? That sounds like some hot takes coming.
It sounded like a leaky balloon.
Or that.
We're going to be doing One Punch Man Season 2, and then, who could not forget, Nande Koko ni Sensei ga, or Why Are You Here, Sensei? So, and we're going to be doing our impressions for the next 4 weeks until we have passed a total of 8 shows. So, it'll be interesting to see what we do. Anybody have anything else before we jump right into the podcast and get it rolling?
Nope. I am good luck team, because I've consumed so much coffee today.
Oh my god. Okay, all right, here we go.
おー、大ニュースです。It's time for big news of the week.
All right, let's see here. The big news of the week, Dwango establishes Tokyo's largest motion capture studio. So there is a telecommunications company called Dwango that has established a new CG animation brand called Tuned ID. So which is now the largest motion capture studio in Japan, which is going to meet the ever increasing demands for 3D CG animation in anime and games. So they're going to have 54 motion capture cameras and software that can capture movement from up to 10 different actors simultaneously, which is a lot, Some of
Some of our CG animation and anime should be getting better, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? They really need it because, I mean, I feel like a lot of stories are starting to crop up about how overworked people are in Japan, and I know that CG kind of takes the... makes it easier to create. Yeah. So, if we can get some like rotoscoped shows like Aku no Hana, or if we can get some more like Ajin style shows that actually look good in CG and make them more palatable for people, maybe you can continue to have your 60 shows a season, but have people not working 393 hours of overtime.
Right.
In Japan. So they have some staff already on board. Yoshishige Matsuno of SD Gundam and Love Live, and Seiki Hayashi are working as CG supervisors in the company. They also have some staff from prior Pokemon series, Koichiro Sato, who is going to be doing CG composite editing, and concept designer Tomoaki Okada of Banner of the Stars. So they have some experienced staff there working for this studio. Is Dwango a Japanese company though? I don't recognize that name.
I have no idea. I don't recognize the name either.
It sounds... I'm going to guess that Dwango is Chinese, but I'm not... It says it's
Japan.
Yeah, okay. It's a telecommunications and media company based in Japan, headed by Nobuo Kawakami. Okay, well, there you go. All right, founded in 1997. Yeah, I know
Now a wholly owned subsidiary of Kodakawa Manga Corporation.
I know people don't like CG very much, but people are becoming more accustomed to it. And I think it's just a function of them using it more in anime and people largely not having much of a choice but to tolerate it in some capacities. And the more you see something, the more normal it becomes to you. And so I kind of feel like people are acclimating.
We are seeing a lot more CG in anime now where it's blending in a lot better. So yeah, if hopefully with motion capture, the animation behind it isn't as stiff or awkward, so that it will blend in with the rest of the scene as well, like better. So
I mean, I feel like the problem isn't inherently with the CG technology itself. It's that these animators just don't have as many years of experience behind it as they do with basic, normal 2D animation. So as the technology improves and it becomes more normalized in the industry and gets more used, I can't think that it's not going to just rocket and become actually like a good choice.
Yeah.
Well, I actually sort of like CG when it's done well. I find that when
Hoseki no Kuni was phenomenal.
That is a great one.
It looked pretty solid most of the time.
When it's done well, it sort of flows well. It moves nicely, but it really depends on how it. I find that some CG just doesn't look anime enough for people and for me too. But when they sort of nail the character designs and the way that the art is done, and then having it move well also can be really nice. So hopefully they can sort of pull the two together.
Yeah, I've noticed that people are more likely to accept it when the entire anime is CG. I think it's when they're having problems blending in with, traditionally drawn backgrounds or, drawn backgrounds and then CG characters like monsters or robots. They don't blend well. So I think with this new technology, maybe the animation won't be as awful.
There's I know that I had some shows this season from the spring that where they do the opposite of that, where they'll just randomly have like a vehicle really awkwardly inserted as CG, and it just looks terrible, and it just stands out so much.
Yeah, the more we get those blended in, I think the more people will be able to accept it.
It's almost like in old cartoons, you would see an object on the screen that was in the cartoon that looked different than everything else, and you knew that object was going to move at some point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Or video games, yeah. You're like, clearly I have to interact with this one thing that looks completely different.
Exactly.
It stands out from the rest of the background.
Yep, exactly. All right, well, we'll have to see what Dwango produces going forward. I'm sure they're going to be working with other studios to help out and probably working on some stuff all on their own. So we'll have to see.
Howdy, partner. I seen you riding in on that dusty trail. Welcome to the good, the bad, and the moe.
All right, so for the good, for those of you that are big fans of video games, particularly Persona 5, there is another game coming out in the Persona series called Persona 5 The Royale, which is a game that is coming out in October. Atlas revealed recently that it's
Is it Royale or is it Royal?
That's the Royale with cheese.
Oh, okay, the Royale with cheese game. Gotcha.
Did I say Royal or Royale?
You said Royale.
The game's coming out on October 31st, which is Halloween, of course, and it's going to be coming to America in 2020, because as with most things that involve Atlas, Japan gets it way earlier than we do. They're going to have a new character, Kasumi Koshizawa, who is a new confidant, and the new confidant character, Takuto Maruki. So we'll have to see. Now, does anybody know if this is a spin-off or is this a replaying of the same Persona 5 game with some added content?
I actually have no idea. At first, I thought when I first saw the announcement that it was just going to be an add-on, like DLC, but now that I'm looking more into it, I think they're re-releasing the game with more content.
Okay.
I think. I could be wrong. That's what it looks like to me.
Everything I've seen seems like it's leaning more into like just being social and exploring around Shibuya and stuff.
Which I'm down with.
Yeah.
It says the game will reveal an untold third third school semester and have new school life and Phantom Life content. But if this is the same game with added content, I'm gonna have to kind of say no thank you to this one, because Persona 5 is such a long game that I just don't think I have time to handle that.
It could just be a standalone game. I don't know yet.
Exciting for anybody who does want to have more Persona 5. For the bad, falling in line with the Madhouse Studio fiasco with the animator collapsing of exhaustion, JoJo's character designer has also expressed disappointment in the anime industry. Terumi Nishi, who worked on the designs in Diamond is Unbreakable, has shared her thoughts in English on Twitter, saying that she is disappointed in the anime industry and commented that character designers do not earn any royalties or revenue sharing after the first designs are made. She attributes this to the Japanese culture, Japanese work life, and recommends that the animators in Japan look to foreign companies for work, which is really a strong statement. She added that many animators need to live with assistance with their families because they're only making around $700 a month, which is
insane.
That's just ridiculous. Nishi's first paycheck was only $25.
Yeah.
Oh my, and that's not unusual, it says, for new employees. Veteran animator Toshiyuki Inoue added that a structural change won't happen unless there is momentum coming from all sides. So, which is kind of the case. They need to unionize. I don't even know if they have that in Japan. But
I'm really hoping, with all of this shit that's going on right now, all this information, I'm hoping that they do finally unionize. That'd be awesome.
I want to come back to this in a minute. For the Moe Cells at Work spinoff, there's a Cells at Work spinoff manga coming out that's about the platelets. Oh my god! It's coming out in May. This is just too cute for words. So Kodansha's monthly shonen magazine revealed this. It's going to be called Platelets at Work. So.
Real creative title.
Yeah, exactly. Kodansha Comics will also debut the Cells at Work Code Black spinoff in English this summer. So
yeah, I want to read that.
Yeah, which is going to contain all kinds of crazy stuff that the regular Cells at Work does not have.
Mm-hmm.
And they should have renamed Platelets at Work just Anane. Just
that's just the name of the anime.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to this idea of the people of unionizing and the animators in Japan kind of rising up a little. It's a great idea from the standpoint of human rights and just common sense in some ways. Even as a teacher in Japan who taught in public schools, even when I was in Eikaiwa, when I was making less money than that, I think I was still making something like $1,500 to $2,000 a month, and we all know that that's not a lot of money. $2,000 a month would be $24,000 a year, which is, it's not we're not buying yachts and stuff with that. But
right.
But that's considered a pretty low paying job in Japan, right? And to be making at times a third of that is just completely not even completely nonsensical. Not only does it make me wonder how that's legal, but it also makes me wonder why people would pursue that. And if they were to actually unionize and be getting a real living wage, let's call it more like $3,000 a month, you're going to see way fewer anime you're going to the number of anime created is going to absolutely plummet. That would I personally believe that the landscape of the anime industry right now is such that a lot of the things that happen in terms of studio finances and anime production are only possible because of the structure of how people are paid. And if they were to revamp how much money everybody's making, it will change everything about the anime industry.
Yeah, I also saw a lot of people commenting that right now the issue with a lot of animators people going into the animation industry in Japan, I think she mentioned this is an issue with just the Japanese work culture, is that they believe that even no matter how little you're getting paid, you should still work work to your death if you're doing something that you're passionate about. That's the only way you can express your passion. And I mean, I don't know how they can break away from that kind of concept, because you can still work and do what you enjoy, but you can also do that while making a living. I don't know.
I don't have the
Interesting though how this goes on.
I don't have the answer. I just know that when a studio has to pay has an extra 20% on their overhead for creating an anime, a lot of things are going to have to change about how money is made, And I'm not really and I'm not really sure, considering that anime studios seem to be having not a great time making profit in general off of anime. Especially with DVD and Blu-ray sales becoming less and less prevalent in Japan, and that being a source of revenue sort of no longer. I wonder if anime would even be a profitable thing if people in Japan were paid a real living wage for animation. It's kind of sad because that makes it sound like this medium that we all love is sort of based around borderline slave labor. But I mean, think about it. If studios are barely breaking even off of anime, if you're going to add another 10% or 20% onto your cost from labor, I don't think they're going to be making money at that price. So,
sounds like someone should set up a CG studio to help them out.
God, I wish we could get somebody on this podcast to have that conversation. I'd love to talk to somebody who has the finances, who has the financial knowledge from like a studio like Madhouse to even opine about that. But I'm sure we'd have to have a translator and.
I'd love to just have someone who has experience with animation to, I think it'd be interesting because there's a lot about just how much work goes into animation that I don't know about. Yeah. So it'd be a really fascinating conversation to have.
All right, I'm going to jump into the first retro dive that we've had in a while. So let's dive right in with the retro dive.
Mukashi ni kaero. It's time to dive into the past with the retro dive.
People keep asking for content coverage on old anime.
That drop is so intense.
Oh yeah, it's from Akira, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to propose to you a fairly old show here that I would recommend that people go check out if it sounds like your cup of tea. And I've talked about it before on this podcast, but we have been podcasting for 10 years, so what haven't we talked about at this point? So, and that is Eirias Arum the animation, which came out in 1994 as a 6-episode OVA. So this, back in the early 90s, a lot more stuff was direct to video. So this is one of those. Produced by Studio Ashi Productions, which I looked it up, and they're not even active anymore. But the last sorts of notable things that they worked on were Death Note and Eureka 7, but they weren't the key studios for those. They just I think they were just support studios. Directed by Tetsudo Amino, whom has done a lot of directing work, but not a lot lately. He has a lot of Gundam credits. He directed Macross 7. And I noted, because I didn't even know that this was an anime, but he directed the original Starship Troopers OVA from 1988, which a lot of people recognize Starship Troopers from the movie, the Hollywood movie. And I read the synopsis, and it's the exact same story. So the Starship Troopers Hollywood movie is based after an anime, and I never knew that.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so Eiria is this really fun story about a female bounty hunter named Eiria, and it's this like sci-fi outer space adventure show in this like fantasy world on a different planet. And people are bounty hunters, and she and her brother Gren are sort of up and coming. I think Gren is a little more established as a bounty hunter, but she's, sort of a newbie, so to speak. She's a rookie. And Gren is going on this mission to find out what has happened to the crew and cargo of a space station because they've disappeared. And so he's going off on this mission, and Eiria tags along with him on this mission with her brother and encounters something on the space station that they never really planned on. They encounter a monster / criminal that is like internationally wanted, and its name is Zarum, and it has killed the crew of the space station. And so a huge battle ensues on the space station between Gren and Zarum and Eiria and the other bounty hunters that go with them. And after killing pretty much everybody on their crew, Zarum, is coming for Eiria as well, but she manages to escape from the space station, but is subsequently pursued by the monster on this sort of like outer space adventure where she's like halfway fleeing from the monster, but part of the way through the story will pivot into more of a Like, how do I kill and rid the universe of this threat sort of story? And it's just a really cool anime that I watched back when I was like, a teenager, and subsequently showed it to my anime club at my college. And some of the sort of interesting points about this anime are Eiria is like really gorgeous, but she's not sexualized in a really sort of awkward way, the way that some characters are today. I just find her to be really beautiful of a character, and I sort of think that this is helped by the fact that the designs of the characters in this anime are really exceptional. If you look up the characters themselves of Eiria, you're gonna find that like Eiria herself and Gren and Zarum, they all have really interesting designs, and with like beads in their hair, and they all look like very interesting and unique. And they're sort of like designs that once you see Zarum or Eiria themselves, like you're not going to be able to easily forget these characters because of just how unique and interesting they look. I really love the theme song of Eiria. It has like a very like science, like a sci-fi sort of trippy theme song, which is really cool. And it has a very like snazzy, the anime itself has like a very snazzy sci-fi vibe to it. So if you're a person who likes like outer space stories or sci-fi action, this is going to be a show that like you absolutely will love 100%. It also spawned a live action movie, which is really terrible. So I wouldn't watch that. It's the actress they found to play Eiria is also very beautiful, and she was cast for the role quite well, but the movie itself is just so low budget that it's almost a joke. So if you want,
speaking of stuff that spawned live actions, looking at the posters, it kind of looks similar to the 2-episode OVA of Battle Angel Alita.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking the same thing.
With the hairstyles of the main characters.
Sure.
So
it's a very similar
only a year
aesthetic.
apart. Yeah,
you're not wrong about that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll check this out for sure.
Yeah, I've revisited this several times since I watched it the first time. It's not a big time investment. It's an OVA, so it moves and looks really nice. A little bit better than you would expect because OVAs tend to. And if you want to get your hands on this, I'm not sure where it is. I'm not sure where you can find it online streaming. It's probably going to be tough to find a 1994 OVA on a streaming service, unfortunately. But I found it. You can find it you can buy it on Amazon for $30, all 6 episodes, and then of course they have like fancy box sets you can buy for like $100. But you can get the cheaper version for about $30, and I'm sure you can find it. You can probably find it online to watch it someplace if you really want to watch it. So that's Eirias.
Are the episodes 30 minutes or are they an hour long each?
I think they're 30 minutes long.
Okay, just curious.
I think the whole thing is about 27 minutes long per episode. So,
all right.
Yep. So it came out on June 23rd, 1994. So for those of you that are interested in Eiria, check it out. It's really cool. It's one of my like childhood favorites. I'm not even sure how I ran into this anime, but I'm pretty sure I probably rented it from Netflix, like way back in the day on DVD. So, and that's your retro dive for the week. So for those of you that wanted to have like old school anime recommendations from like decades ago, there you have it. This one for you.
Nice.
I've been talking like forever, so does somebody want to do the trivia?
You want me to do the trivia?
Yeah.
All right. So this week's weekly trivia, which we have on our website, if you go to AAAPodcast.com and you scroll down, there's a picture there, and we have a theme to them. And if you send in your answer, what anime you think that picture is from, you have the chance to win fabulous prizes. And our theme, was it currently ecchi anime, or is that the new one?
That's the theme currently.
Okay, current theme is ecchi anime, and this week's answer was how to summon a demon lord. Although here it says how summon a demon lord.
Don't you proofread me?
This week's winner is Show Some Mercy.
Yeah, a lot of people got this right.
Yeah.
The next question is a lot harder. It's an old show from like the 90s. That's also an OVA. It's a lot like Eiria. So good luck. It's on the website if you want to go check it out.
Nice. We also have our intro trivia question right before our break, and we'll answer it after the break. And this question is, which kind of game is not typically found in a Japanese arcade? Claw machine games, rhythm games, multiplayer fighting games, metal games, VR games, or card-based games? And we'll answer it after the break.
Hey everybody, Mitsuki's here, bringing you your anime news break. Leading us off, Vinland Saga, the upcoming fantasy action show that we all are very excited for from Wit Studio, does premiere on July 8th, which will be right around the corner. It'll be here before you know it. And they've been announcing some additional voice cast talent for the show. Oscar voiced by Naoya Uchida of Drifters, Kanute, voiced by Kensho Ono of Owari no Seraph, Thorkel, voiced by Akio Otsuka of Ghost in the Shell, and Bjorn, voiced by Hiroki Yasumoto of Aka. Now, if you're excited about this anime and you haven't seen the second PV, it is out now, so you might want to go check out the second PV. It's a lot more of the same, but still pretty exciting to watch the awesome scenes that are displayed in the trailers. Next up, Famitsu readers vote for the top video game of the Heisei era. We all know that the Heisei era in Japan has concluded as the emperor is stepping down in Japan, and fans are voting on their favorite anime from the last several decades of the Heisei era. Number 1 in the poll, Chrono Trigger from 1995. Probably a well-deserved game done by Square Enix, has the character art of Akira Toriyama in it. Runner-ups were Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Square Enix's Nier Automata. That's pretty cool. It's cool that they're doing polls like this to check out the most popular games of a prior era as the dawn of a new era begins. Next up, the saga of Yamakon continues. The director behind Kanagi and Wake Up Girls, who is most notable recently for his wild behavior on social media, has had his Line blog shut down, or it went offline, I guess, recently. In the meantime, Yamakon started another blog on another blog website, which he goes into detail about why his Line blog was erased, stating that, quote, "I've gotten fed up with Line blog's utter spinelessness." In subsequent posts, he, I guess, has been also expressing his distaste of the Line blog. So Yamakon's wild behavior continues into yet another format of social media, so we'll have to see what he has next for us in the future, but I doubt it will be any more directorial work. Next up, Sarazan Mai, the recent Ikuhara anime, has had some pretty flashy attention lately because of some of the content in the show, most notably butts. Yes, B-U-T-T-S, I would say. And it looks like Ikuhara has explained some of his process in getting animes like this approved, in which he states that when getting animes approved that have sort of out there wild ideas, it's best to omit those ideas from the pitch of the show to get the show approved, and then to insert those ideas afterwards, which is a little bit of a strange way of doing things, I guess, but I guess you have to do whatever it takes to get your wild ideas into your shows. This was Mitsuki, and this was your anime news break. Now, time to get back to the podcast.
Mandy, I've got a great idea.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, what if, now hear me out, what if we did additional episodes? I'm talking hobby addicts, after parties, maybe even hentai episodes, if you're nasty.
Well, I mean, we already do all of those.
Hold on, what?
Yeah, we've been doing that for like years.
How did I not know about this?
You've been in like a ton of those episodes.
Come on, Mandel.
My name is Mandy.
Okay, Medward. You know I don't pay attention to things like that.
Like yourself speaking?
Huh? Well, I'm glad now we're making millions off these extra episodes.
Actually, they're only like a couple bucks a month.
Wait, what?
Yeah, if you go to AAAPodcast.com/join, you can sign up to get access to all of our extra podcast goodness for just a few bucks a month.
Whoa, that is a steal. All right, so where do I go to sign up?
I just told you. AAAPodcast.com/join. And besides, you're in those episodes.
Huh?
Just go to AAAPodcast.com/join already.
Hi, my name is Sonny Strait, voice of Krillin from Dragon Ball Z, and I'm an anime addict. Kamehameha, bitches!
Welcome back.
Glad to be back.
Podcast episode 470 of the Anime Addicts podcast. We had a trivia question on the news break. Both of these in-show trivia questions will be about Japanese arcades. And this question was, what kind of game is not typically found in a Japanese arcade? Claw machine games, rhythm games, multiplayer fighting games, metal games, VR games, or card-based games? And the answer is VR games. You won't really find virtual reality games in a Japanese arcade.
I like to imagine metal games are just like metal versions of Guitar Hero.
That would be cool. Like heavy metal?
Yeah.
You and I actually played a metal game when we were in Japan, Mandy.
We did, and I had no clue what I was doing. Just dropping shit in a slot.
For those of you that don't know what metal games are from at home, think of those like we all are familiar with those games that you play at the beach where you drop quarters into it and there's like a moving shelf with money on it, and you try to push off other quarters with the quarters that you drop into the machine.
Or in Chuck E. Cheese's.
Do they have that? Do they have that in Chuck E. Cheese too?
Yes.
So think that.
Chuck E. Cheese.
I haven't been in a Chuck E. Cheese in a long ass time. So think that, but really elaborate. So you'll be playing like Mario Party or Monster Hunter or whatever the hell. So okay.
But what do you win? Nothing?
Nothing.
Ah.
You win more money.
Absolutely
to spend
nothing.
More money.
You win more medals, which you can't do anything with. Except there used to be establishments, I'm not sure if they still exist, where you could like basically make money off the medals, but I don't think that those exist anymore. So basically you're just having fun. You're just screwing around. Yeah, Japan is very like lukewarm. They don't really have a lot of like anything you could think of that's dangerous or questionable is not in Japan. Like they don't have guns. They have really low speeding limits. They have no gambling. They have strict laws on driving and alcohol. They're very serious about things.
They have
like that.
monkeys. Those shits can bite you.
That was amazingly random, and they'll throw shit at you.
Hey, it sounds like you've been playing Sekiro because there's lots of monkeys.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
I have not, but now I'm prepared.
Now, one interesting thing about like Japanese arcades though was like even kids games, there wasn't like a ticket system. Like you didn't win
Right.
like a internal currency that you.
You don't even get like a shitty eraser.
No, or a little finger guy that you can put on a pencil. No, it was just you play the games for the games. And that was it.
Which is perfect because I imagine I can't speak to this truly because I don't have any children, but I'm sure that someone listening is going to be nodding in agreement when I say that it must be really annoying to have your child screaming and begging you to have enough money to get enough tickets to win something that you could buy at like a CVS with probably 10% of the money that it took to get the damn tickets.
The best part about those Japanese arcades is watching a bunch of old Japanese men sit around and bet on little robotic horses.
Oh yeah, the virtual horse races. Oh, it's so great.
They're so intense about that. And they're just sitting there chain smoking cigarettes and drinking beer. Oh yeah. That's what they do in their free time.
Crazy.
I'm sure they have wives too, and probably children. They just don't care to see them.
Gotta go to the horse races, the little metal horse races.
Those old Japanese men could use some Chuck E. Cheese in their life.
Well, see, that's what I'm talking about because, like in Japan, you're not gonna, to my knowledge, they don't do horse racing. Like maybe they do. I haven't never heard of it, but that's probably.
They did have the horse girl show, right?
Yeah,
weren't some of those Japanese horses?
Yes, true. Okay, know what they do have in I was about to say Japan that is actually really legit and is gambling and is fun. They have indoor boat races.
What?
They have like arenas set up.
But it's an indoor boat.
Well, I guess not indoor, but it's in an arena, like a horse race stadium, where all the stands are on one side, and these people in these boats race around a track, and it's spectacular.
Interesting.
And you can bet and you can win actual money, as I did. And it's a great time. I highly recommend it.
How much you win?
Like $40.
Man. Apparently.
That went straight to ramen, didn't it?
Yes.
So apparently there are 4 different types of public sports that you can bet on in Japan, and those are horse racing, bicycle racing, powerboat racing, and asphalt speedway motorcycle racing. So, and these are known
That's legal?
These are known as koei kyogi. So, they also have lotteries, they have pachinko, and they have gambling on in mahjong parlors, which often have ties to Yakuza.
I was going to say, I thought those were illegal.
So there are some ways you can gamble in Japan. So
Interesting.
All right. And now that we've talked about that little segue, why don't we head right into the first of two manga-based topics with Mandy's Manga
Let's
Minute.
do it.
Let's do this.
And now, let's take a minute for the Manga Minute with Mandy.
Take it away.
Alrighty, this is Mandy's Manga Minute, where I take a minute to tell you about a manga and help you find something new to read. And this one is called Furari, which is really funny to me. I was telling Mason this before our podcast. It sounds like the katakana word for Ferrari. It's called Furari.
You're not wrong.
Slowly but surely, he takes a promenade through Edo. Furari can be translated as aimlessly, at random, bend in the wind, or go with the flow. But our stroller this time leaves nothing to chance. Jiro Taniguchi returns with his delightful and insightful tale of life in a Japan long forgotten. Inspired by historical figure Tadataka Ino, Taniguchi invites us to join this unnamed but appealing and picturesque figure as he strolls through the various districts of Edo, the ancient Tokyo. With its thousand little pleasures, now retired from business, he surveys, measures, draws, and takes notes while giving free rein to his taste for simple poetry and his inexhaustible capacity for wonder. Furari is a historical slice of life written and illustrated by Jiro Taniguchi. It's one volume and available in English. And I have it right here. The printed English version is this really nice hardback book. I was actually really surprised when I got this. The manga is very relaxing. There's no conflict, just a man observing 18th century Japan. Every chapter follows our main protagonist Jiro as he is counting his steps for a map of Edo. And he becomes distracted by the scenery and has an overactive imagination. So one chapter, Jiro is observing a cat, and then he starts to see things from the cat's perspective as he's climbing on top of buildings. And in another chapter, he is observing a trail of ants and suddenly imagines himself as their size. So he's a little tiny Jiro. And as he takes in the sights and the food, there's a lot of eating in this manga.
Oh.
Jiro recalls.
My man.
Yep.
Talk dirty to me.
I chose it. I chose this manga, so I'm this manga is just Mason.
All I do is walk around the world and eat.
Yeah.
And that's all I need.
This is Mason in Japan. So Jiro recalls poems that are appropriate for what he's currently witnessing. And I think what I really like most about this manga is the art. Taniguchi's art is very, very clean, and it has an almost minimalistic style to it, but the sceneries have this really magical sense of beauty to them. And this manga won't be for everyone because there's no action at all, there's no drama, and there's almost no story, but it is a very enjoyable read. It's very nice to see a journey through ancient Japan, and it gave me a very strong urge to want to go back and really take in the sights. I really think that if you enjoy traveling and you get that kind of feeling looking at a beautiful scenery, that kind of oh, this is magical feeling, then you may want to try and give this manga a read. You might find it interesting.
Speaking of...
Go ahead.
I'm totally getting off topic, so you should ask your question about the manga.
I was going to say, looking at the artwork here, it seems like it's incredibly detailed, but it's very clear what everything is.
Yeah, everything is so clean. Every panel is really clean.
My one question was, does this get much into the cartography aspect, the actual act of making the maps? Okay.
No, it's mostly him counting his steps and then becoming distracted.
Okay, so he's trying to do work.
He's trying to do work, but he is just so distracted by all the beauties of the world.
Okay.
It kind of I don't want to really compare it to Mushishi because Mushishi, every chapter in that is such a well-rounded story. It's not like that, but it kind of still has that kind of feeling where you do feel like he's on an adventure, traveling. If that makes sense.
Nice, yeah.
So speaking of feeling like you want to go back to Japan, taking the sights, I just checked again to see if you could buy tickets for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics yet, and you still cannot buy tickets to the 2020 Tokyo Olympics.
That's weird.
So I don't know.
I thought you and I were just gonna sneak in. I thought that was the plan.
You think now that we played Sekiro, you think we're stealthy enough that we can sneak into some of these events?
We've got that shinobi life down.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna gaijin smash at the events. We're just gonna act like we don't understand anything like what we're doing, and we're gonna definitely not speak any Japanese, and we're just gonna.
Is that a My Hero Academia like attack gaijin smash?
Gaijin smash is like, it's like when you run through a turnstile at a train station, and then when they see that you're foreign, rather than pursue you and chase you down and try to talk to you, they're like, "Oh, let's let him go because we don't want to have an awkward conversation in English, so we're just gonna let that guy go because he doesn't understand anything."
Oh man, that's so brilliant!
You're saying I
if you like do speak Japanese, you could just get by going, "Huh? What?"
Yeah, it's like one of those things that you can only do in a country that has virtually almost no foreigners in it.
Love it.
I'm just imagining screaming like Gomen Nasai or like Sumimasen and like smashing through a crowd of people at the turnstile.
Gomen Nasai. Yeah, it's yeah. Oh, Japan. Japan is they're just paralyzed by foreigners at times. They just don't know what to do.
Yeah,
So.
on the train, I was sitting down, and these young guys got on, and they all looked terrified because the only seat open was right next to me, and they would not sit down.
Yeah.
They were like, looking at me like, "Oh, she might talk to us." I'm like, "No, I don't want to talk to you. I promise."
I once had an old man get up and stand, holding onto the handhold thing on a train. Like a clearly elderly man chose to stand rather than sit next to me, and I'm like, dude.
I think Kazuo also had a similar experience.
Like, dude, you are old. Like, you should be sitting. I should be standing. Oh man, I've also seen many people on trains that I was sure were dead. So
that's sad.
They're just exhausted from working away from overwork, and then they still manage to wake up they'll be like asleep for an hour, and they'll still wake up immediately right before they're stopped. They'll manage to wake up. It's amazing. Okay, well, we could sure talk about Japan for many hours, I think. But we also have manga to discuss. So you guys are key members of the Manga Club on our Discord.
We are.
And so this is sort of a way for you to enjoy talking together about manga and sharing with some of the listeners that enjoy manga, a little bit of a manga-based topic. And also, you could call it a small advertisement for the Manga Club on the Discord. So I'm not really sure what you two have planned, but I'm going to weigh in wherever I can.
Cool. So yeah, our Manga Club on our Discord started about, I think a few months before I became a host. So it's been over a year. And it's kind of spawned when I was a mod at the time, and me and a bunch of other mods were in chat together. And we were having anime watch clubs. And I was talking about, like, it would be cool if we kind of did this for manga, because I read a lot of manga, and a lot of other people in our mods group did not read a lot of manga, but they were interested. And so it kind of spawned from there, like, let's just do it for our our Discord followers. And it'd be a cool way just to, like, get, like, another way for us to get involved with our community. And so we all just read part of it and then come back like a couple weeks later and just talk about what we read. And it's very laid back. And so Mason has been at a lot of them. I think you've almost been at all of them, haven't you?
Just about.
Almost.
Except when hockey gets in the way, but
yeah,
it happens.
So yeah, I thought we could just do a topic on manga and talk about our history with manga and some recommendations we have for people who have not really dove into that part of the anime community and are interested.
I want to say really quick though about the Manga Club, about if you listeners would want to join. It's really great because we usually, in most cases, don't end up reading the full entire work. So it's not like, oh, I need to, I got 2 weeks and I need to read thousands of pages and hundreds of chapters.
I would never do that to somebody.
It's not that unreasonable. We just read a couple of volumes, usually can be knocked out in a few hours depending on how dense the work is, but it's very easy to get on board. It's not.
And we
not
read,
daunting at all.
yeah, we read a whole variety of as well. So you can, we have a list on our Discord. If you go to our Discord and go down to Manga Club, and in our pin messages, we have a great spreadsheet that was made by one of our club goers named Motoko. And he made a great list of all of our upcoming manga and where you can find them, where you can purchase them, the genre, and then we also have a list of stuff that we have previously read if you're interested in like past manga clubs. And yeah, we mostly have been reading a couple volumes because I figured everyone is busy, and in 2 weeks we have a higher chance of getting people to only read a couple books instead of like, you know, in like entire volume, like, you know, like the entire series. Yeah, and we read all kinds from like stuff that doesn't have anime adaptations to things that do have anime adaptations. So we could talk about like the differences in the manga and the anime. I think one of our most recent ones, Welcome to the NHK, we were really surprised
That's
by
really
how
popular.
much it's different. Yeah, like if you read the manga, it was a completely different experience for me from watching the anime. So we talk about that kind of stuff too. Yeah, it's a lot of fun and it's very laid back. We don't force anybody to talk, so if you want to come and just listen in, you can do that. And yeah,
At Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard. Give
right now we're
however things change that week.
Yeah, sometimes things in life happen so that we might have to postpone. But yeah, right now we're reading My Brother's Husband, and I can't remember what is next. I have to look at the list. But I thought what we could do right now is just talk about our history, about how we started reading manga, and what our first ones were. Do you want to start, Mason?
Sure. So
Go for it.
for me, like I grew up, like most people, watching Pokemon and different like anime stuff on television, but it never really hit me as like, oh, this is stories and this is a medium from a different country. It was always just, oh, it's what's on TV. These are cartoons as much as anything else. But I vividly remember in like 5th or 6th grade, like going to a friend's house who was like the cool friend who like could stay up late and watch like Adult Swim and Cowboy Bebop and Ghost in the Shell and all that real cool stuff, you know, real
The cool
kid.
stuff.
And I was like, oh, I wish I could do this. And he lent me the first volume of like One Piece. And like the moment that I'm like, oh, you start reading from the other side of the book, like that's when it hit me that it was like, oh, this is like culturally a different like
for sure
origin of work. And that's when I was like, I'm in on something. This is what the cool kids are doing. Little did I know, not very cool.
Yeah,
but I
not
felt
cool.
cool.
Hey, I beg to differ.
That's all I needed in my life. So yeah,
I need to be cool. I've got too much in my room.
It's cool now. It's 2019. Very cool.
Not only do you start from the back of the book, quote unquote, but you read right to left. Gasp.
Very true.
Gasp.
I will say there is nothing worse when we do our manga clubs, and sometimes we'll get books that were translated into English where they did flip the reading order.
Yeah.
So naturally, I'll start reading right to left and be like, "This is a nightmare. This is not making any sense."
Sanctuary
only
was
to
like
realize
that.
after a couple pages that I gotta let my little inner gaijin loose and read it like a normal person.
I wonder why they do that, because that must be difficult to sort of rearrange the imagery and stuff on the pages, you know?
Yeah, a lot of old manga did that. I'm going to assume because they didn't think that foreigner, like, you know, Americans would be able to read. Yeah, they would just be too weird.
What a hassle.
And normally they just flip it. So like they'll mirror it. So like, for example, we read Tomie a couple sessions ago, and she has like a very prominent like mole underneath her left eye. Mm-hmm. But because they mirrored everything in the old English releases, it was under her right eye. And then in later releases, it was under the other eye because they didn't mirror it.
Yeah, because Tomie lasted from like the late 80s all the way up to like, what was it, 2005 or so?
Yeah, it's pretty recent.
Yeah, so the old 80 versions were like flipped. It really threw us off. But yeah, I first started reading manga back. I think I was in high school at the time, and my very first one was Magic Knights Rayearth, and I can't remember why I picked it up at the time because there was a guy at my high school that kind of gave me a bunch of anime to watch, and because I had never watched anime outside of like Pokemon.
He sounds like a cool guy.
Outside of like Pokemon and Sailor Moon, stuff that you could find on TV. And so he gave me X the movie, he gave me Ghost in the Shell, the movie, and he gave me Fushigi Yugi to watch. He was like, "Oh, have you ever watched anime?" Because I think it was because I was really into video games. And I was like, "No, I haven't watched anime. What is this?" And so he just gave me a whole bunch of stuff to go home and watch. And he also had a bunch of manga, and I think he mostly collected X at the time. And so I was in the store just looking for, like, in the bookstore, because I was trying to find X, and then I found this manga called Magic Knights Rayearth. I was like, this looks interesting, and it has the word clamp on it. So I picked it up, and I took that home. And that's kind of what started it off. I read that, and I read X, and then I read Parasite, I think, after that. Yeah, I still have some of my really old ones, too. Over the years, I did lose a lot of them because I went through waves of like, I want to just sell all my books. And then I got to a moment again where I was like, never mind, I want to just collect books. But yeah, so what about you, Mitz? Did you ever get into manga?
Yeah, so there was a short span of time in high school when I was into manga, and I haven't watched a lot of manga. I think mostly it's just because I feel so much of my sort of anime manga allotted time in my day tends to be taken up with anime. So I would say my choice to not read manga isn't so much out of a not liking it. It's more of just I have to make a choice, and I seem to consistently pick just watching anime instead. But I started when I was reading manga. It was back in high school and in college, when it still wasn't cool to read, to even watch anime. Or, man, even when I was in college, it was so not cool to be into anime. Yeah, the anime club at my campus was not respected. I'll say that. Despite having a weekly membership of like over 30 people, which was a lot for a small college. One of my first manga that I ever read was Battle Royale. I really got drawn in pretty hard because the manga really presents. It's not a unique concept, but it's executed really well, and the way that they do it in the manga is really intense. The sort of releasing a student out into the jungle with a bag that has a random weapon in it, and then they have to kill each other is really a very intense sort of thing that, if done well, can be really engaging. But the Battle Royale manga does it really well, and it's also really, really violent. Like, the manga is so violent.
Yeah.
And so
the movie is too.
Yeah, it is. It's very violent. And so yeah, I read most of that, and I've had soirees with, like, is that the right word? With several other manga, that I've read back in that same time period. I probably have read less than 20 manga from start to finish, but I can speak to it a little bit. But yeah, back in high school, I think Battle Royale is where I started, and then I kind of went from there to various things that were I'd watch an anime, and then I go pick up the manga and read the manga as well.
Did you ever read the spin-off manga of Battle Royale? I think it was about the girls in the lighthouse, I think?
No.
I'm trying to find the name of it. I've been trying to look for it.
I've always just been waiting for them to make a Battle Royale anime, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, they just haven't done it. So I really think it could be good. They could do it well, but, I don't know. It would definitely have to be censored for sure. So.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you ever read the novel?
I have the novel, but I haven't read it. I have it, but I haven't read it.
It's also available on audiobook. format if you want to just listen to it.
Is it really? Have you read it?
Yeah.
Is it really good? It's pretty long.
Yeah, it's pretty long. I actually have the book too on my shelf. I'm trying to see how big it is. It's pretty thick, but
It's like 500. It's like
yeah.
500 pages, I think, or so. It's fairly big. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. It's a little bit different from the movie, if you because that's how I consumed it first was the movie. There are some little differences here and there, but for the most part, yeah, it's pretty good. It's an enjoyable read.
Sure.
So then I thought we could talk about some of our favorites.
Oh yeah.
And do you want to just take turns, Mason?
Sure,
Or
we can do that. I also want to touch on really briefly, though, based on what Mitsuki just said, kind of like how do we discover our manga? Because for the most part, as much as I hate to say advertising works, a lot of what I will look into is just from anime that I thought were cool, and I either want more of the story or I just want to see how it was done. So that's kind of like where I find most of my manga is like through shows and series that I like.
Oh, how do I find my manga?
Well, I know you just read everything. So
that's a good question. I click on things that Amazon tells me I would like.
That's tough. I mean, I think I used to buy it from, like Suncoast Video or something way back when that existed. They had a shelf of manga in there, and I would occasionally buy DVDs from there, but I would also, grab a manga here and there. So
I think I bought a lot of manga from Suncoast.
Yeah. And then they went bye-bye. Netflix killed them off just like it did, just like everybody else.
Yeah. I don't know though. Their prices were extraordinary. Like I think Cowboy Bebop, the Blu-ray was like $50 or $60 there, and then you go on Amazon, it's like what, 30?
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
All you got to do is have a cell phone so you can check. I don't know how box stores will do it. Like any sensible human is going to have a cell phone with them, and literally will just price compare right there in the store.
Yeah.
So
everyone knows the best way to read manga is to go to Book Off.
Book Off.
Not everyone has a Book Off, Mason.
That's right.
I don't have a Book Off. I have to go to New York or Japan to get it. You just have to pay the exorbitant cost of flying over there and learning Japanese, which honestly is the biggest reason I don't read as much manga, is because I'm trying to learn this dreadful language. And I'm like, oh, if I just can learn to read it, I will learn it quicker. So I try
and you'll save money.
Exactly, because I can buy full series, like all 10 volumes of Mushishi for $2.
So stupid.
Not $2, $20. Sorry, $2 per volume. It's great. But it's kind of mean that instead of reading volumes of manga a night, I'm slowed down to like a chapter a night, depending on how difficult
Mason
it is.
does that sometimes. He'll come into the manga club. I'm like, so did you read this in English or Japanese? He's like, actually, I read this in Japanese this time. I'm like, great.
It just takes me a long time. But anyway, let's talk about our favorites.
I was going to say it does help us, though, because sometimes
Occasionally.
translations are not reliable. So it's nice to have somebody in our club who can go, this is what it actually said. So, yeah.
There you go.
But, our favorites. My favorite manga of all time is Vinland Saga. And, by the way, they released a
couple
trailer
months
for
away. Months away from
July
the
8th.
adaptation.
I'm just so excited.
Are you gonna pick Vinland? You are. You know what? Odds.
It's
If anyone
already
else
been
takes
claimed.
Vinland Saga from me, I promise I will murder this podcast.
It's already been claimed.
I was just gonna say, Mason. Odds that Mandy picks Vinland Saga #1 for our picks for the summer.
No, it's not even going to be on the list because this is a non-negotiable, like, part of her contract on this podcast.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put it at #1 and let the fates decide.
I
Just try to outroll her.
I will never show up again out of just assault. All right, so Vinland Saga is a fantastic manga, and I highly recommend it to anyone who has not read it already. It is by Makoto Yukimura, who also is behind Planetes. And
good stuff.
Vinland Saga, right now, it's really unfortunate because, at least in the English translated versions, I don't know what's going on in Japanese versions, But over here, the releases of it have slowed to a crawl. So I think this December is the first time we're getting a book in 2 years. So
Wow.
it's pretty long, though. I think so far, in the Japanese versions, there are 21 volumes so far. But if you buy it over here, it comes in these really nice, thick hardback books, which Japan doesn't even have. Like, they're really nice books. And they're 2 volumes each. So I think I have 10 or 11 so far. But I can't remember if I have 10 or 11. But it's a great story about it's based on events like in 1013 AD of Vikings who are trying to invade England, and the main character Thorfinn is you get to watch him grow up from this young child up to adulthood, and he is the son of Thorkel, who is a Viking who used to make a living off of raiding, and he quit that lifestyle. And unfortunately, through events in the story, he's being drawn back into Viking raids. And Thorfinn follows his father. And through events, you get to see Thorfinn's entire life change. And this manga has such fantastic character arcs. You get to see people who are like Thorfinn. You get to see him go from this bright child into someone who is basically a killing machine, and then you get to see him change from there. And they had entire arcs are fantastic. There's some great character development, and he is basically the entire story of Vinland Saga is that there is this magical land that they say called Vinland, and it's the overall journey to try and find Vinland, which is this land who is supposed to be no war or slavery, and that's what the ultimate goal is. And you get to see a lot of wars in England. You get to see there's a lot of political intrigue. You get to see the lives of some slavery too, and how awful that is. And it's really fascinating. There's a lot. It's a fantastic read, and the art is so great. And I put in a couple pictures from it in our chat. But yeah, it's the drama in it is really hard hitting. So I highly recommend it. And we tried doing that for Manga Club, but no one showed up.
Wow.
It was just me and Mason.
It was one of the earliest manga clubs.
Yeah.
It was the whole point that we even made Manga Club is so that Mandy could share her love.
So I could talk about Vinland Saga.
And no, we're going to do it again, though. We are.
Yeah, I put it back on the list.
It's gonna
what
happen.
did you think of Vinland Saga, Mason? Because when I think we'll at our Manga Club, it was just me and you going, "Yeah, this is damn good."
It's spectacular. So I had read Planet Test, which is the author's previous work, and that's a phenomenal anime and manga.
Yeah.
And the concept of going from an outer space trash man to Vikings is such a crazy shift, but they do such a good job with the characters, and the art is stupendous. It's a true epic, and if you want something to really sink your teeth into after Game of Thrones ends, cough, cough, you got some time with this one.
Yep.
I guess for my first favorite, not my absolute favorite, but the only thing that can dare rival the artwork and pure epic scope, I gotta get it out of the way now, is Berserk, the classic, the GOAT.
Which is starting again.
Yeah, allegedly. I don't know if I've completely purged the 2016 and 2017 anime adaptations from my mind.
Gods.
But Berserk, it's just, you know about it. It's long, it's gorgeous, it's got everything you could want. It's
very long.
It's brutal. Yeah, it's long ride, but it's the reason it's the number one rated on Mel, because everyone has been influenced by it, and it's I don't need to say anymore. You guys all know about it.
Question: Is Dark Souls was that inspired by Berserk, or is that just a rumor?
A lot of the enemies found in Dark Souls, like the skeletons on the wheels, and some of the bigger enemies who will like with the axes and stuff, those are essentially taken one for one out of Berserk.
Those skeletons on those wheels are a pain in the ass.
Yes, they are. They spin around at you and they track you down.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't be surprised. You know, something as influential as Berserk, you know, that's been running for decades, is, I mean, it permeates everything. You know?
It really does.
Yeah.
But on a scale of 1 to Berserk, how is the art in Berserk?
It's Vinland Saga out of.
So yeah, in our manga club, we rate our art by 1 to Berserk. Thanks to Mason.
It's gorgeous. Just go online and just look up like the highest quality scans you can find. His line work is impeccable, and it's really, I'm not big into like the fantasy genre, but the creatures he comes up with are always delightfully frightening, and I highly recommend it.
Do you think the artwork in Berserk is better than the artwork in Attack on Titan? Like, what would you say?
Is that a serious question?
No, I'm being a total smartass.
Okay.
100%. Because the artwork in Berserk is insane. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's, I mean, it takes him, it must take him 100 times as long to do a volume of manga, and just due to the sheer quality of every single page. I mean, it's madness. Wow.
Yeah, and waiting for it is even more maddening.
Yeah, geez.
But the first couple of chapters, when it was still more of like a sketchbook, the art obviously wasn't as refined. But after a couple volumes, just every page is background worthy.
Yeah.
So it's great.
I need to still continue it. Where did I leave off? I think I left off at volume 10, I think. I could be wrong about that, but I think I was only like a little bit past like the golden arc.
The start of the golden age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know I'm still very early in the story. I need to pick it back up. I get intimidated when I see like volume counts and when they're really high.
I mean, they're only in like the 30s, I think. Maybe low 40s.
Only in the 30s.
At least get through the golden age arc. That's what I recommend for anyone. Don't
I think I was
worry
a little
about
bit
catching all the way up. Get to the golden age arc, finish that up, and you're good to go. Anyway.
What about you, Mitz?
One of my favorite manga is Initial D, but I'm going to talk about that a little later. So I'm gonna discuss another manga. One of my favorite manga that was recommended to me by somebody online like years ago is Onani Master Kurosawa.
Oh yeah, I've read this.
Yeah, it's definitely unique. It's a unique sort of story, and it starts off in a way that would make the viewer a lot like how people think GTO is just going to be about like a perverted teacher. Yeah. Onani Master Kurosawa is about this kid named Kakeru who he's in junior high, and he's deep down he's a really troubled kid, and on the surface he's just like kind of arrogant and looks down on a lot of people in his class, but deep down he's like very antisocial and has this pastime that he engages in, which gives the book its title. For those of you that don't know what
translate that.
Yeah, Onani means masturbate. So he basically punishes, in his mind, he like targets and punishes girls in his class by going to this like women's restroom that is like almost never used, and he thinks about the girls, and then he masturbates about, you know, while he's thinking about them, which is the initial premise of the manga. Well, and then like early in the story, he sort of witnesses a girl in his class being bullied by some of the other girls. So right off the bat, there's some serious themes about bullying in schools, and there is a lot of that goes on in Japan just as it does in the U.S. And Kurosawa, Kakeru, decides that he's going to take his own form of justice into his hands by after school, he acquires some of the school uniforms of the girls that were doing the bullying, and he masturbates all over the clothing, and sort of like puts it back, and to like, you know, get back at them. So the girl, however, that was getting bullied witnesses that he was the one that did it, and ends up blackmailing him, and gets him to exact revenge on other students in the school by getting him to do the same thing to the other girl, to other people. Now, that's sort of like the initial premise of the story. However, like
wait, Mitsugi. Yeah. This story begins with this guy initially just like masturbating to girls. I thought you weren't going to talk about Initial D.
Did you just make a dick joke?
He made a D joke.
Oh my god.
Well, you're filling Crosbow's shoes a little bit.
a little bit. Okay. We need to break him in.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, sorry, I was a little slow on that one.
Initial D, but this has nothing to do with racing.
Onani Master, it definitely pivots pretty quickly and becomes this story, because the girl Kitahara, who was getting bullied, ends up becoming a shut-in. Like, she's like borderline suicidal. She's a shut-in, and Kurosawa becomes somewhat of like a heroic character in the show from like a social standpoint, because he works with her and talks to her and gets her to like attend her high school like graduation, and gets her to like actually go back to school. And there's even some pretty like really kind of compelling romance towards the end of this manga, and it's not very long. It's only 4 volumes, 31 chapters. But like, this manga really compelled me. I think I read the whole thing in like 2 hours because I just couldn't put it down. And it's just it covers so many different things. Like, it has this really sort of like dark, suspenseful sort of beginning with him trying to get away with all these things he's doing, and, you know, experiencing his mind and the troubled things that he has going on. And then it just dives into all these other sorts of social problems that are happening in Japan. And then by the end of the story, Kurosawa just becomes like, he really goes through a lot of growth in the manga and is a very different person at the end of it. And he goes from a character that you view as being like an anti-hero to being like somebody that you really pull for at the end of it. And I really enjoyed it a lot, and have never forgotten about the story. And it's been like 10 years since I've read this, but, you know, I remember it very clearly.
Would you also agree that, at least for me, I think it'd be a good manga for people who are big fans of Flowers of Evil? I got a very similar vibe.
Sure, definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so many manga get anime adaptations, and I've been kind of waiting for this one as well. I think it's fairly well known. It's well liked. It's very well rated. It has like the acclaim behind it.
Yeah, I had it recommended to me a lot, and I finally did read it. But back when it was recommended to me, nobody gave me the Japanese name. They're like, "You should read Masturbation Master." I'm like, "Do I really want to?"
Yeah. The
what
title
name?
It has a very definitely.
I was like, "What are you trying to get me to read exactly?"
The translation is very literal. Like, there's no grammatical interpretations required. But I wonder if they did make an anime. And by the way, at this point, it's been like 11 years. Maybe they could do it. I don't know. Maybe they would adapt it. But like, I wonder what the English title would be, because it's not like Erased or something where they have like a very difficult to translate Japanese title. It's very cut and dry. It means Masturbation Master. So I really wonder what they would, but how can you offer that as a title to U.S. audiences? So I just wonder, like,
how do you show people, like, how do you get on Crunchyroll an anime girls' clothing?
I don't know. Maybe that's why they do it, though. Maybe that's why they haven't done it. But there's darker, weirder shit out there. So
for sure.
I honestly think I think honestly that all the Little Sister stuff that we watch is a lot weirder than a high school boy masturbating to his female classmates. That's a lot more normal. So yeah, Onani Master Kurosawa was really good, and it's a short read. So if you want to read sort of like a sneaky good drama, like, that's a good pick for you. So that's my favorite.
Nice, thank you. I think, for interest of time, Mason also brought this up to me as well.
Oh, sure.
I'm just gonna like start blowing through my favorites.
Oh yeah, wow! I forgot we were even like on the clock. Sort
On
of.
a time clock. Yeah, impressions are probably going to go much longer, so I'm going to just blow through mine. I also highly recommend, although you have to be a very specific type of person to enjoy Oyasumi Poon Poon and Solinen, or any of Neo Asano's stuff. He tends to write very dark stories and stuff that you would not see in any other manga. He tends to focus a lot on the dark side of humanity. And although Solinen is probably the easiest one to read, there's not as much dark stuff in Solinen, but it is still very much like a, I don't know if you call it coming of age. It's like, it's in college trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. And
it's also much shorter than Poon Poon.
Yes. Yeah, Solinen is only, if you buy the English one volume, I think Japanese, it was split into two. But
and Poon Poon's like 13 Japanese volumes and like 6 American ones.
Yeah. And yeah, Solinen has a very bittersweet ending. So if you are not okay with sad stuff, you might want to avoid it. But if you want something very dramatic and has a very bittersweet ending to it, I highly recommend that one. Oyasumi Poon Poon is very psychological. And I think why I enjoy that one so much is that a lot of the artwork in it is very out there. And I feel like you can definitely have conversations centering around like artistic choices, and a lot of crazy stuff happens in that one. A lot of crazy things. I found it to be a very fascinating read. So other than that, Uzumaki, I've already recommended that one a lot. Any of Junji Ito's stuff, really, because his, like you were saying about Berserk, I mean, Uzumaki or Junji Ito creates these insane horror stories that he could turn anything into an object of horror, from a spiral or an ear or a snail or anything. Like, we just read one in Tomie about sake. Like, it's
evil sake. There's hair that's evil, like a
carpet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that he can turn into his own horror stories. Like, very imaginative. So I highly recommend. Uzumaki's my favorite, but I would say try any of Junji Ito's stuff if you like very imaginative horror stories. And then my last favorite is My Lesbian Experience of Loneliness, which is more of a diary than I would say like an actual manga. It's a very personal story about this woman's life of it. It is called My Lesbian Experience of Loneliness because she is like discovering her sexuality, but also I think the more you take away from it is it's about depression and how she overcame it. And it's a very fascinating read. And I really, really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, so I'm going to echo all of Mandy's recommendations. I really like all the ones she mentioned.
I think we read all of them in Manga Club.
Yes, we did.
I was very selfish. I was like, let's read all my favorites.
Yeah, of course. And I've been pushing to read my favorites, but they're a little bit harder to get to. So the first one I'm going to recommend is an oddball that I never hear anybody talk about, but it's Takemitsu Samurai. It's essentially like a Hindu samurai guy. It's written by like a Buddhist monk, and it's illustrated by Taiyo Matsumoto. He's the guy who did Ping Pong and Tekken Kincrete and a bunch of other really weird stuff. And his art is like just odd, to say the least. It's very symbolic and detailed and messy and blurry and wild all at once. And it somehow barely stays on the page. And it's a real weird mix of this really interesting samurai who's just interested with the world around him, and just he draws the attention of people, and that attention isn't always the best. And without getting into spoilers, it's just a wild ride that no one talks about. So Takemitsu Samurai, check it out. And then I don't know, have you guys ever heard of what's this little studio called Ghibli? Is that how you say it? Ghibli?
Ghibli?
Yeah. But anyway, there's this guy who really hates anime there. I don't remember his name.
I heard that anime is a mistake somewhere.
But anyway, yeah, this
manga is a mistake.
Yeah, anyway, this no-name director, before he started at Ghibli, he did this little called Nashka of the Valley of the Wind, which everyone's seen the movie before, and it's a great movie. It's one of my favorites of theirs. But the actual manga for Nashka actually goes on for like 5 to 6 times longer than what the movie was, and gets into these huge epic wars, and the art is obviously also phenomenal. And you guys already know, if you liked the movie and were like, man, I could use more of that, you're in luck, because there's plenty more. And finally, gotta stay with the meme train. JoJo, specifically Part 7, is good. If you already know what JoJo is, it's more JoJo. And
I always hear 7 is everyone's favorite. Why
7
is that?
is great. Well, for me personally, I read Part 7 when I was in Japan with you guys. So like my mindset of like experiencing this manga of like that takes place in America is when I was in Japan, which is kind of odd, I think. But so I've got positive connotations in that. But essentially, with the whole universe kind of gets like a fresh start for Part 7. And he really gets to kind of reimagine how power and how characters and his art functions. And it's even more unique and bizarre than anything before.
That's hard to believe.
It's
considering the designs and the latest JoJo. It's tough to believe.
I'll say the outfits they wear are kind of already meeting peak weirdness.
Yeah.
But the events surrounding it are more nonstop, just absurd.
Is everyone still like insanely OP?
Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome. I can't wait. I'm excited.
It's a great time.
You know what would be truly bizarre is if in a JoJo they just made the character designs really normal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That'd be absurd.
That would be
They're all in high school.
That would be truly bizarre.
I mean, Part 8 has a lot of like just people in like sailor uniforms and like school uniforms, so we might be trending that way.
All right.
But JoJo as a whole is a great read, specifically Part 7, which you can jump into whenever.
Well, we have a whole shitload more to this outline, but we're gonna have to.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to.
We do,
not,
but we.
We're gonna have to probably not do it. Okay. Yeah. But I do thank you to everybody who did submit via social media. There's a lot of comments here, but we definitely don't have time to do them. So we have to do our impressions. So. But stop by Manga Club if you want to hear more conversations about manga, and you can always ask Mandy and Mason on the Discord for information about manga if you have if you want recommendations or want pointers about.
Join us. I was gonna say you can join us this Wednesday for My Brother's Husband.
There you go.
We're reading the whole thing.
All right, guys. So when we come back, we're gonna do our impressions from the spring season. So stay tuned for that, and don't go anywhere. And we'll be back in a minute. As always, Mitsuki's here yet again, bringing you your second round of anime news. Well, next up we have another poll from Charapedia, who is testing people on their taste of voice actors and actresses. They did a poll checking people's most popular actors and actresses from the anime industry. And it looks like the top 3 female voice actors are Ayane Sakura, Inori Minase, and Aoi Yuki, which are very familiar names, I will say. Of course, the male voice actors are also very familiar. Yuichi Nakamura, Yuki Kaji, who is famous from Attack on Titan, and of course, Hiroshi Kamiya, who is very well known for lots of things, probably most recently Zombieland Saga. If you're interested in the full list, you can go to Anime News Network or Nijimen to view all 40 of the top men and women that were voted on in the poll. Next up, well, we all know that Monkey Punch passed away recently, which has been a big blow to the manga community. However, people are celebrating Monkey Punch in different ways, including talking about a little-known piece of trivia that Lupin and Fujiko actually get married and have a child in a spin-off manga that was done by Monkey Punch in 1975 titled Lupin Kozo, or Lupin the Brat. It began serialization way back at the end of 1975 and concluded less than a year later with 18 chapters. If you want to check out this little nugget, the Lupin Kozol, and see Lupin and Fujiko actually getting married and having a kid, you can go look up that manga from 1975 and you can get your hands on it. I'm sure it will be a very interesting read for fans of the Lupin series. Next up, pivoting to manga a little bit, it looks like the latest volume of Neo Nakatani's Bloomin' to You manga has announced that the manga is actually going to be wrapping up pretty soon with its 8th volume that's going to be coming out in November. So, of course, this manga was adapted into a 13-episode TV anime series that we will be covering fairly soon on the podcast. So, if you are a fan of Bloomin' to You, enjoy it while it lasts. It's going to be wrapping up in November, but it has been good while it lasted. Next up, and lastly, Madhouse production assistant, who was hospitalized recently for overwork, says that he worked 393 hours in 1 month during crunch time, which is crazy considering the Japanese government's proposed limit for overtime per month is 100 hours. So that is a pretty astonishing amount of work to be doing in 1 month. If you do the math by day, including weekends, that's around 13 hours a day. So, which is pretty extreme. So it just gives you sort of a taste of the landscape of the animation industry and probably how so many anime get made every season is through a lot of scenarios like the one that you're hearing about right now. This is Mitsuki, and this was your anime news break. And as always, it's time to get back to the podcast right now.
Now that we're getting to our main podcast topic, I just so happen to have found this perfect...
Let me guess, another list?
Well, kinda. Not just any list, though. The greatest list to ever grace the internet.
Go on.
It's J-List, baby.
Did somebody say J-List?
That's right, my little Peruvian Pocky box.
What is...
Exactly. You like boxes, right?
I don't even...
Bingo! Everybody loves boxes. You know why people love boxes?
I don't know.
Great point, Enzo. Because boxes have things in them, and J-List boxes have tasty things in them.
What kind of...
I agree, Enzo. A wise man once said, life is like a J-List snack box. You never know what you're going to get, except you do. Snacks from Japan.
Hold on, are you telling me that...
If you go to jlist.com, you can sign up for the monthly snack box and get all kinds of delicious treats from the land of the rising sun.
Oh, man, I better...
Go, Enzo. Go now. Don't wait. Don't speak. Go to jlist.com and make your sweet candy dreams come true. You're welcome.
Now presenting Burning Questions with the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast.
Would you rather
Yeah, I like these.
no.
I like these.
have taste buds in your butthole
What the fuck?
or poop out of your mouth but not taste it?
Taste buds in my butthole.
So you would rather taste your poop as you're shitting there.
Well, you didn't explain what was
That's
gonna...
why the taste buds are in your butthole, is so you would...
Okay.
God.
Yeah. Taste buds in my butthole.
Oh, God.
What was the other one?
Or poop out of your mouth but not have to taste it.
I have to go with that one.
No.
I mean, that's disgusting.
Taste buds in my butthole.
No, you want to taste your own poop?
Now, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
You have taste buds in your mouth.
Yes.
If you hold your nose and eat food, you can't taste it. If I hold my nose, do I still fully taste it out of my butt? It's a valid question. It's a very important detail in the answer.
No, you have to squeeze your penis.
Oh, God.
Because that is the nose of your butt.
And now, back to the podcast.
Oh, that was fun.
We forgot our trivia.
I know we did.
Oh.
All right. Well, we're back to the podcast, guys. So I will read the trivia question just so you guys can hear it. A Japanese arcade in Japan is often many floors. Claw machine games are on the first floor almost without exception. What is often on the top floor? And usually it's purikura, which is print clubs, which are advanced photo booths, which allow you to do like digital editing and things like that. A lot of people will go to them and they'll dress in cosplay. And they'll bring their cosplay in like suitcases and change up there, and then they'll have like photo shoots with their friends and as their favorite anime characters or whatever. And they'll do them in the photo booth so they can get their so they can do touch ups and add effects. And the photo booth will also like digitally enhance your face a lot along the lines of the same way that Snapchat does. So
there was a level higher than the Metal Machine one that we were at?
they don't all have Purikura, but a lot of them do. Yeah, usually, yeah. I think they put them on the top floor because it's a little bit more private. So you wouldn't really go up there unless you wanted to do Purikura, and it's a little bit of a private thing because not everybody wants to be seen doing cosplay. So yeah. All right, so now without further ado, let's jump right into the 5-star review, and then we'll do our impressions.
It's time for iTunes review.
Mason, I choose you.
That's me. Oh, yeah. Here we go. This 5-star review, which you can leave by going to iTunes and doing that whole thing that I don't know the proper way of saying, is by OMG.
Oh my God, you took my cat.
Oh my God, you took my cat.
Oh my God, you took my cat. Yeah, anyway. She says, "What up, addicts? Been listening to you guys for the last 5 or 6 years, and I can't get enough. I love the dynamics of the cast, but I do miss some of the old casts like Chiaki. Kazuo is my boy. He's everyone's boy, my dude. But I gotta give it to Mitz, as he keeps the whole shebang rolling, and Mandy and Enzo bring a new life to the show. I can't wait for more episodes, Hobby Addicts, and the potential new D&D podcast." Yeah, where is that one, guys?
Good question.
Great question.
And, quote-unquote, the other one, which we're probably recording right after this.
That's right.
Your faithful listener, Zach. Oh my God, you took my cat.
Oh my God, you took my cat.
That it
Someone
is.
give him his cat back, please.
Zach just wants his cats back.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of Chiaki and Kazuo,
Today, we're going to be doing impressions.
Impression time, believe it.
if we keep these impressions to their intended about 5 minutes apiece, we will be doing just fine.
Heck yes.
So, who wants to start?
I'll go ahead and start. I will start with Senryu Shoujo. So, I actually forgot to bring up the page so I could see who the studio that made Senryu Shoujo. But Senryu Shoujo is based off of a 4-koma comedy, romantic comedy manga, and it was by Studio Connect, who did not known for a lot. They did Strike the Blood. They did Death March to Another World. Is that the translation of that one?
It's like the Parallel Rhapsody one?
Parallel Rhapsody.
Yeah. So yeah, they're not really known for a whole lot, but Senryu Shoujo is a cute romantic comedy about this girl named Nanako. For whatever reason, she doesn't like to communicate verbally. Instead, she writes senryu, which is like a type of haiku poem, on like these like scrolls, and shows to people, and that's how she communicates. And then her best friend or childhood friend is an ex-delinquent named Eiji, and he has like a very scary reputation around the school, but he's actually kind of a secret sweetheart, and he is also in the poem club with her. And it's just about them living a high school life, basically. And it's it's 12 minutes per episode. And yeah, my impressions on this was that the art is not great, but it's okay for what it is.
Yeah, it gets the job done.
Yeah, I mean, it gets the job done, and but there's not a whole lot of substance behind it. I do think it is a cute watch if you're just interested in throwing on like a 12-minute episode. And also, I feel like you can also. I think Mason also watched some of this. So I
did. I watched 4 episodes of it.
I didn't watch the 4th one yet. I watched 1 through 3, but I know
you'll like number 4.
I keep hearing that it's so sugary sweet.
I got diabetes watching it. I was in the chat.
I need to watch this.
Diabetes.
But
diabetes.
So you can also comment on this, but I think for me, because I don't know the Japanese language, I feel like the creativity in her haiku poem, like when she's talking to people, is kind of lost on me. I think the translations are trying to do their best, because there is a very specific format to haiku poems.
Well, so a senryu is kind of like a haiku. You need the same like total number of syllables, but it isn't divided into like a 575 like a haiku is.
Oh, okay.
And haiku is also like revolved around like specific scenes in nature, and it has to have like a cutting word, essentially like a midpoint where like the tone shifts. And so Senryu is essentially just like a loose haiku is a good way to think about it. Not as
Because I was thinking that some of it was like the creativity of phrases were lost on me just because I don't understand the language.
It would be really frustrating to have to communicate like that.
I did think it was. I feel like the character of her friend, who she clearly, or they have a crush on each other. He clearly has a crush on her, but I feel like we've seen him a lot in anime. He's nothing new. It's very like the ex-delinquent who's actually a big sweetheart. But I do feel like it's very different to see a girl who only communicates through poems. I've never seen that before, so I did think that was very different.
The biggest thing with the show is like this is based on a manga, and in a manga where like characters' thoughts and words are expressed with like bubbles right next to their head. To have her write stuff makes sense in the manga, and it doesn't seem odd, and it's just a cute quirk.
It is odd in anime, though.
But in anime, when you realize, oh, she has to write this, people have to, like they pan over it, and they have a voice actress.
And there's a voice actress for
character.
it. Yeah.
So essentially, what it strikes me is they had this thing that they had to adapt, and they can't not adapt that component of her character because then it's not the same show. So they do their best to kind of make it palatable. Mm-hmm. But the thought of this happening in real life is so frustrating. And
it is
episode
a little
4 kind of pokes fun at it. And it is cute. But yeah.
Yeah. I did out and you can I think for me, I'm personally not going to pass this, but because there's not really much to talk about. There's not a whole lot of substance behind it.
But now if we write about it, we'll be good.
We could write poems about it.
All right. Well, here you go. Here comes a new fail drop.
I fart in your general direction. Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelt of elderberries.
Okay.
I love it. I love Monty Python fail drops.
Monty Python's great. All right. What is up next?
I guess I'll just rip through Kenja no Maho, or the wise man's grandson, or philosopher's grandson, depending on which translation you go with. This was Kazuro's number 5 choice, so I don't think he'll mind me swiping this away. So I went into this one completely blind. I had no idea anything about it. I just saw that it was the first one up on the queue, so I claimed it. Have you guys seen any of this show? Okay, well, I'm going to rip through this real quick then. So before I talk about the plot, I need to talk about what makes this main character so compelling. He's got places to be, deliveries to make, he's living his life, it's slave to no laws of man or their crosswalks. It's driven, propelled forward by a purpose, rivaled only by the greatest of heroes found across the vast spectrum of anime. A stark, white CGI van. No make, no license plate.
Oh, Van Koon is back.
Yeah, Van Koon. So this great main character, Van Koon, hits some bumbling office worker idiot, and instead of the show following this great van, and its adventure through life,
I've never heard of this.
Nope, we're following this dummy cardboard cutout of a character named Shin as he gets transported into another world. It's your typical isekai show.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Nice. So this one,
Perfect.
this isekai world it's just your basic fantasy inclined one. It's based on the manga of the same name. It's done by the consistently unspectacular Silverlink studio, which has done really nothing good besides maybe Tanaka-kun, Kokoro Connect, and everything else is not that great.
Tanaka-kun's fantastic.
Savage.
It is. So the last show that this Silverlink did is actually with Connect, with Death March to the Parallel Rhapsody World Rhapsody. But that like had a good director. That was Shin Onuma, and he was like able to kind of manage the ship before it crashed. This is directed by like Masafumi Tamura, who I had to look up. He's done essentially nothing, and he can't even get the show off the tarmac before disaster ensues. It's not good. So here's the spark notes. Ready? Ready? You sit down, you buckle up. Here we go.
Yep.
So he goes to this other world, and he gets reincarnated as a baby. He grows up in a world. He's got your magic, your demons. He remembers his past life, but he uses no useful knowledge of it. Like, he uses basic chemistry to make his fire magic strong, but then that doesn't explain why he can teleport so well. Essentially, he's just an OP character. Everything gets explained to him, like shopping, earning money, going to school, all this boring stuff that we just don't care about. He gets found by this magical guy. You might have heard of him, called Merlin. Yeah, big idea. Immediately best friends with all the heroes, all the nobility, makes friends with the waifus instantly. He instantly gets his harem, befriends the top brass at the school. He makes his rivals. Like, it's all just so standard. It's so just done before. And the art is atrocious. The animation, the music, it's not good. Once in the entire 3 episodes I watched, they try to do like a fancy and it's clumsy. Like the slide transitions, or I shouldn't say slide transitions, but I mean slide transitions. It's like a PowerPoint edit with like a Star Wars style of like screen wipes and like fade ins and fades out. It's listeners, I challenge you to find one good frame of art in this entire 3 episodes. It's so bad. It's constant exposition. The world, it's a different world, and it's just like Earth. Like, they go to a restaurant, they order a dish, and they get a receipt on those little like clipboards to like write the tip in. Like, it's not even a fantasy. It's just bad. Fan service isn't even good. The waifus aren't even good. The comedy, they try, and it's like just so flat. Everything's flat in the show. It's just not good.
So you're passing it.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely passing it. The only good things, there's a possible JoJo reference in one of the episodes, and it lasts for half a second. It kind of jumps right into the story because it kind of knows, hey, you've seen this show before. We don't need to explain it as much. And there's only one good scene in the entire show, and it's great. So essentially, it's at this magic academy, and it's kind of like the entrance exams. And he's super overpowered, obviously. We've seen him kill demons, have this whole range of magic, and all these other students are taking the exam, and they're strutting their stuff. They're about to show off their sick magic skills, and they're just like producing the littlest blips of magic, and like feeling very satisfied that they got like a single speck of fire to come out of their finger. And so it's kind of funny seeing these characters be so impressed with themselves while being so overshadowed by this guy. In the end, this show is only for the people who are like mixed about isekai. Like, if you've already seen a couple and don't like them, obviously you're not going to watch this. If you already like them, you're going to watch it and enjoy it. So like, for the people who are on the fence, they're like, they've seen a couple isekai and they're like, should I watch it? Should I not? Just don't waste your time with this. This is like
don't.
slime wannabe knockoff, third-rate, cheap, wish fulfillment crud.
That's savagery.
That it's just not good. And like, for those isekai veterans who are going to watch this show and wade into these swampy waters, regardless of these warnings, best of luck. And I'll welcome you back with open arms. Just take a shower.
I'm gonna
don't watch this.
We have a savage drop.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, I had a drop ready, but it's not strong enough. I gotta go straight to the.
It's not strong enough.
I gotta go straight. You know,
Is it gonna be me?
Wow. There.
I thought I was gonna have something about shitting on faces.
Oh.
Sorry, I was really upset that I watched this.
I'm gonna shit on your face. I'm gonna shit on your face.
All right, so I'm gonna do the only one I'm gonna do is Nande Koko ni Sensei ga. which I don't remember who. I don't know. I don't think this is. I think this is one of Kazuo's.
It's Kazuo's, yeah.
This is
I watched this one too.
This is a straight up ecchi comedy that takes the ecchi comedy to an absurdity level that is not often seen, I think. I would say. It
was impressive.
It's stunning.
Actually.
Like, it was so stunning that and I'm gonna check my time here. Okay, so I literally tried to. I'm sitting in my diner, right, and I put this on, and I'm like, I can't watch this in my diner. I really couldn't. This anime is done by Studio Tier Studio, which I don't even recognize them. They've done almost nothing. They have done nothing, pretty much, and it's a 12-episode show with 12-minute episodes. So it's another one of these like sort of middle range length format episodes where each of the first 3 episodes, the main character of the show, whose name is Sato, he basically runs into his teacher in like a really bizarre place every episode. And I'm not going to lie, I found it kind of amusing because every episode starts with, "Teacher, why are you here?" which is the title of the episode. So in the first episode, he runs into her in the men's restroom in a bathroom stall while she's using it. In the second episode, he runs into her in a laundromat seeking shelter from the rain, like all drenched in she's of course wearing all white, and she's like drenched in with rainwater. And then in the third episode, she's babysitting like his family or one of their family friends, like little babies. And the things that happen in this anime is just absurd beyond compare. I mean, in the first episode, she's literally using the restroom and he's stuck in the stall with her, which, goes in all kinds of directions when like people come into the bathroom and, they're trying to not get caught and just, and then there's like water, like jokes, and it's total madness. In the second episode, she's insanely hot, by the way. It's unbelievable. Actually, I forgot something important in the second episode. He runs into her again in the school infirmary. He's going to go play hooky from class or whatever. And she has a cold and she's laying in the bed and she's like, he goes to get her medicine out of the cabinet. And the only thing he can find for a fever are suppositories. So you wouldn't think that it would happen, but he literally gives her a rectal suppository as his... Man,
that's the second time this year we've seen that.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Whoa. It's worse than that.
It goes on from there. I mean, he misses... He puts a blindfold on. He misses the hole. And she's like, oh, no, that's the one up from that. Because she's on her hands and knees.
What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. But that's not even the most ridiculous thing that happens in this anime. In the third episode, when they're taking care of the baby, they decide that they're going to go and like swim in the pool. So they have like an inflatable pool outside, and they're playing with the baby in the pool. But of course, the teacher, for whatever reason, decides that she's going to wear a swimsuit from like her college days. And she is, let me tell you, this is one of the hottest anime characters you are ever going to see, period. Extremely busty, just 100% just sex everywhere. Like you can't think anything but sex when you see her. And she's like facing him, and the baby grabs the string on her bikini from behind and it pulls it, and her bikini falls off right in front of him. And then she's like grabbing the baby and holding it, and with her bra off, it starts sucking on her breasts, and because it's a nipple. And it's like, what would she say in this situation? But she says, basically, to my shock, she goes, "Oh, no, it's okay, because it means that the baby recognizes me as a mature woman."
Well, there it is.
And I was just like, well, there it is. And then the entire first 3 episodes, the mother of the boy is trying to hook her up with her son, and they end up kissing and getting into some pretty sexual situations. And I kind of think that if in any anime these two have a shot of actually having sex in the throughout the run of the show, this one feels like there's actually a chance of it happening, because I felt like it almost happened in episode 3. And the mother is because she gets drunk in episode 3, and she's like, half naked on the bed, and it's crazy. Like,
Sounds so classy.
But I'm going to tell you right now. I watched 8. I prepared 8 impressions, and I had more fun watching this show than any of the other 8 that I watched. I'm just being honest. I found this show, it's complete filth, but I found the situations that they're in to be completely absurd and really amusing and quite funny. And I liked watching it, actually. I didn't think I would, but I really found it to be like just shocking and funny every episode that I watched. And I mean, it is what it is, you know? Like, I watched Isekai Quartet, and it's kind of funny, but it's also like not that funny. You know, and I've watched some of the other ones, and some of the shows I was kind of bored during, but this one, I was not bored at any point during it. So
you guys know me. Like, I do not like ecchi at all, and I'm somewhat of an elitist. This show earned points with me for how brazen and how just over the top bold it was with just committing to what it was.
Yep.
And if you're someone who likes this is absolutely the show for you.
It's really bold. It's really bold, and just you're like, they're not gonna go there. They wouldn't dare, and then they do it, and I'm just like, holy shit, they did it.
I mean, this show is hilarious for them to remove the censors.
Oh my god!
Get the home video release. This
sounds like
a hentai episode.
How you guys are talking about this reminds me of like my first time watching Prison School.
I'm going to tell you right now.
I'm like, they're not possibly going to do that. Oh, did.
I'm going to tell you right now, it would not be a bad drinking game episode to drink every time a censor comes up. You could watch 3 episodes in one podcast episode and probably get a drinking game out of it.
Are they good, like funny censors though?
They're pretty funny.
Yeah, it's usually the character that's being looted, like disapprovingly looking at you with a stamp of like kanji that blanks everything out.
I'm passing it.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
I think
I like that one.
I think I will have more fun watching this anime than any of the others that I watched. And so I'm just gonna pass it. I enjoyed watching this one. It's dumb as shit and it's ecchi as hell, but
it's very true.
It's also really funny. So there you go.
So I would have actually stopped at episode 1 because I thought but based on the opening, it looks like there's going to be like 4 sets of like teachers that they're going to put in different situations. So I was curious to see how the other ones played out, but they didn't show any of them in the first 3. So I'm curious if we're going to get more waifus.
I don't need them. The one that they're showing in the first 3 is so hot. Like, I don't need any. I don't need her. You know what?
They got the sporty one. They've got the.
No, I don't need her. I am teacher monogamous. I am teacher monogamous. They can't possibly come up with a hotter character than this teacher. It's impossible.
Love at first strip.
Love at first string bikini pool. All right, who's next?
I go. I'll go ahead and do Demon Slayer or Kimetsu no Yaiba, which is by a little studio you may have heard.
I like this meme of downplaying the people.
A couple people may have heard of it. It's called UFO Table. I mean, they're kind of known for some, little anime here and there.
Who's that? UFO Table. Weird. Oh, wait, is that the studio that was embezzling money from the Japan earthquake fund?
Mm-hmm. Those assholes.
Oh
no! we allegedly, we don't know that for sure. But Kimetsu no Yaiba, I actually did this for Manga Minute a little while ago. It's a Shonen Jump manga about a boy named Tanjiro who in his what time period is this? I know I said it in my Manga Minute, but I forgot what time period this is.
Ooh, I don't know the
I don't remember the name of it. It has a name, like the era, but
Sengoku period.
Is it Sengoku?
I don't know. Remember. I didn't watch it. I'm just guessing.
I don't have my notes anymore on my Manga Minute. I forgot what it was. But so Tanjiro is and his family. He goes out one day to I think he's collecting coal. And when he comes back, his family, spoilers for episode 1, by the way, is brutally murdered. And when he runs in there, he finds that his sister, Nezuko, is still alive but unconscious. So he grabs her and he's trying to, I think he's taking her to a doctor. But on the way, she wakes up and attacks him and tries to eat him. And this man shows up with a mask and fights Tanjiro to get to his sister because he calls himself a demon slayer, and Nezuko has become a demon. So a demon slaughtered his family, and we don't know how, but somehow Nezuko has turned into a demon, and she was spared. So Tanjiro is fighting this demon slayer, and when this demon slayer has Tanjiro down, Nezuko actually fights to defend her brother, and she has like these moments of a little bit of humanity left in her. And so witnessing this, the demons, because no one has ever seen this before with demons, the demon slayer recommends putting like this muzzle on her and points Tanjiro in the direction of his like teacher. And Tanjiro is now on this quest to become a demon slayer, and in doing so, hopefully find a way to cure his sister. And his sister has not eaten human flesh yet. So he wants to do this before. Yeah, he wants to do this before she, I guess, becomes like a full-fledged man-eating demon.
So story before the listeners scream anymore, this is set in the Taisho, which is essentially from like 1912 to the end of 1926, and it comes after the Meiji period.
It's my second guess.
Okay. Yeah, because it has a bit of the like an old feel to it, but I think there are like telephone too. It's like this really landscape to it.
Yeah.
But honestly, when I first read the manga, I thought the story was so generic, and even the name. But after watching the anime, the animation is fantastic. It looks beautiful. I actually love the character designs. I think Tanjiro, especially, if I lined him up with a bunch of other, especially Shonen Jump characters, I would be able to point him out, because I feel like all of them look very unique. And in the manga, I know we do meet some other unique demon slayers down the road, but so far, I didn't watch yesterday's episode yet. I've only seen 1 through 3, but so far we haven't got to that point. Yeah, I think especially I mentioned this during my review of Attack on Titan, how much I love the lighting in it, because it felt so like, especially like at night when there's a fire, the lighting was they paid a lot of attention to the lighting and light sources, and I'm getting that feeling from Kimetsu no Yaiba, because the dark, like, that's takes place at night a lot, because demons, for whatever, cannot go out in sun. They die. So he travels a lot at night, and especially there's this moment where he's training in the mountains. He's doing his demon training, and the lighting in the forest looked fantastic. And there is a lot of CG moments, but it's blending in very, very well. Yeah, I think it looks fantastic. And as you get to see this sword effect, like this wave coming out of his sword in the PV, and or the OP.
The OP?
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see that take place in the anime, and I'm hoping it looks
Spoiler, you're going to see that in episode 4.
Awesome! I'm excited.
Yeah, the OP
so cool.
Looks phenomenal in the OP, and it looks just as good in the episode.
Oh, awesome. I'm so excited then, because it kind of has that, you know what I'm talking about? Like the, like ink, printing kind of art style.
Yeah.
Ikkyo painting, you know what I'm talking about? It has that kind of
That's the same thing as like what the wave was done on.
Yeah, that's the kind of art style that the wave that's coming out of his.
But like with the CG effect on top of it, that adds like a different layer of depth and movement to it.
Yeah.
The OP is a bop, by the way, certified banger. But yeah, the episode 3 I thought was a little bit shonen-y and cost cutting with some of the scenes, but it absolutely paid off for how good the rest of the show looked.
Yeah, there are definitely shonen moments in this. There are really hard-hitting drama, but there's also that kind of like jump to comedy that often feels very awkward in shonen anime, where you're like, okay, a lot of people just died, and then suddenly we get like the weird comedy moments. Those always throw me off whenever I'm watching shonen anime. So they do have those moments in this, but I've enjoyed the first 3 episodes so far. So, and I'm really hoping, so far I still think that the story is very generic about a guy just wanting to rescue his demon sister. It's like, there's not much depth to it, but I'm hoping later on it develops into more. So, yeah, I am excited to watch it, and I'm going to pass it.
Yes! Now this is going to be a good story.
Okay.
Man, I wasn't even looking at chat, and Icy was screaming at me. Taisho, period. I'm so sorry, I didn't look till now.
All right, last impression.
That would be Mason.
That would be Mason. That's right.
That's we're doing One Punch Man season 2.
Yep.
Because I'm getting back at Kazuo for picking his other shows. Yeah. So here we go. No introductions. You guys all know the story behind this.
I don't think you need it.
JC Staff taking the reins from Madhouse for the next installment of our favorite Caped Baldy. So Kazuo and I actually looked at the PV a couple weeks back, and we were pretty skeptical, and we had really tempered expectations because it just looks off. There's really no way around it. So I was pretty hesitant going into episode 1. Have you guys seen this?
Negative.
I watched the first 2 episodes.
Okay. So I was really not looking forward to it. And actually, episode 1 was not that bad. Honestly, it was a story about King, the S-Class. I think he's ranked 7. He's the strongest man on Earth, quote unquote. But he's really just an antisocial otaku loser. That just because he has got cool scars, a really loud heartbeat, and misunderstandings, everyone sees him as this great hero. And it's
very, very quick question. Was that at the end of season 1, or I know I've seen that.
Yes,
story.
I've experienced it before, and I just couldn't.
I wanted to make sure.
Was it the manga? Was it the original anime?
That's what I was struggling with. I'm like, am I getting the anime mixed up with the manga? Because I know I had seen that before.
Anyway, he's a great character, and it's funny because he makes a bunch of faces throughout the episode that reminded me of Kaiji, which was a Madhouse thing. When he's in the bathroom and there's this frightening beast after him, he has that really weird I'm in deep doo-doo face. The episode looked different than what Madhouse does. But because it was mainly with new characters, it didn't look that off-putting. There wasn't a lot of fights, so there wasn't a lot of action. It looked fine, and despite how bad I was expecting it to be, it was pretty solid. And then episode 2 started.
And then...
And man, this is a master class episode in how to cut costs. It just falls apart. So first of all, the OP of this is easily one of the worst clusters that I've ever witnessed. Essentially they're just trying to ape the song from the first season, and it's mixed poorly. And just the visuals have this really gaudy English text that scans over that just doesn't look good, and it's just a bunch of still frames. It's just really bad framing, and all the animation is in these really short loops, and I get a headache every time I watch it. But essentially most of the episode consists of conversations where they even cut out the lip flaps. They just zoom in on people's foreheads or the people who aren't talking. So it's just a collage of still frames and just a discussion scene. And it's impressive how bad it looks. And of course, then they actually start fighting, and it's mainly consists of JC Staff zooming in and out and shaking the camera and putting motion blur on unmoving still frames. And it's everything that I was afraid that it would be. And looking actually at the people who worked on it, they have multiple chief animation directors, multiple animation directors, and multiple assistant animation directors. And what that essentially means is that they didn't have enough like time and budget or whatever. So they need all these people, their job is like to check the animation quality of the people actually animating, which means with all these different directors and supervisors, that's what causes all these inconsistencies.
Yeah. And we've
there
had
wasn't like a good production schedule.
And we've had that conversation before about how there's such a lack of training, and so people don't. The animation has to be checked so thoroughly because the people that are doing it so incorrectly. Yeah, we had that. Yep.
Yeah. So when you
There
have 4 or 5 of these directors, that's just a clear sign. Episode 3 was kind of more the same. It was better. It was definitely a step in the right direction. And it's odd because like the characters and the source material have all the potential to make One Punch Man like continue beyond what was like the single joke that the first season was. Same guy who did Mob Psycho 100. Like this guy knows how to great compelling stories and characters. And we talked about manga earlier this episode, and like if I had to choose, I'd highly recommend going to read that and explore this story in that regard. This season 2 of One Punch Man is the shonen version of Berserk 2016, where it takes a great series and it still has a story that everyone loves, but it just looks hideous. And it's like Go ahead.
I didn't get to finish it, but I did start the 3rd episode. I thought the animation looked a little bit better in that one.
The 3rd one definitely looked better.
They stopped doing that annoying, like, what do you call it? The kind of blurry style to it. Like, you know where it kind of looks like they've kind of just blurred the character?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The biggest thing is episode 3 didn't have as much Genos in it, who probably suffers the most. In the first season, he's this mechanical boy. He's got all this weaponry. He's got all these components of his design, and they knock all of that out. His model looks radically inconsistent. Like when he's talking, you can see like his whole jaw just like slide up and down. It's not even.
I did see that. Yeah.
It's like that's not where the comedy should come from the cringy animation.
I do have a question though.
Yes.
If let's pretend that the first season of One Punch Man never existed. If this was by itself somehow, would it be better?
It would be better
would it be
in
acceptable?
that it wasn't as failing of expectations, but it would look animation-wise as bad as anything else. Like this show doesn't look bad because it's being compared to a phenomenally illustrated manga and season 1, which was stupendous. This show just looks bad.
Wow.
Period.
It's one of the worst disappointments we've had in a long time.
It's just this huge train wreck, but I can't look away, like, because like it's episode 3 was a step in the right direction. Like, really, did they put all their eggs in the last few episodes? Is that going to have a wildly different staff that can turn it? Like, in the end, this show, good or bad, will have an impact on like the perception of like how anime is created and like what it means and for different studios to take ownership and what it means for different people to be involved. And I feel like following through on the show and watching it for the sake of like capturing the state of this anime in 2019 and what like will occur from it is worthwhile. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope like this manages like to turn the ship around and recapture the magic of the manga. And like it hurts to watch, but I still think it's worth watching. So call me a doubtful visionary, but I feel like we need to pass it for being part of the cultural zeitgeist of what will become. And
but what about the story so far?
Did you just give this show a pity pass?
I give him this show.
I mean, because I'm going to tell you the reason why this show got dumpstered the way it did is because One Punch Man season 1 was not a hit in Japan. Like it doesn't have the same cultural like tidal wave that we had in the West. I mean, you know, and if it did, Madhouse never would have it never would have gotten the budget cut that it got. So like it's just a difference in cultural identity, you know? I mean,
very true.
It's like after One Punch Man season 1 came out, I was in Japan like that while it was almost while it was airing, and there was no
merchandise,
no presence of it anywhere. I saw one tiny book stand that had manga on it in a manga store, and that was it. And it's not shocking. Like if a show doesn't do super well, you know, it's not going to get the Attack on Titan treatment where it gets a massive budget every season. So,
yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's worth following. I think story-wise, it will still be impactful. And who knows? I feel like this is just saving us what would be an inevitable listener's choice. But we will see. And if not, I rescind my ability to make decisions, and we can fail it anyway if something else comes up.
Jason's like, I don't care. I'm not coming back. And if you
I've never been this excited. You're excited. Feel these nipples.
He's like, I don't have to take responsibility for anything.
Wow, I was sure you were going to fail it, so I was all queued up with my fail
want
drop.
to fail it, but I just can't deal with the ire of having everybody hate me.
I don't think everyone would hate you.
I actually don't think anybody would be that upset because I think, from what I can tell, people are not pleased with it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it would be,
especially in our community.
I think people want to listen to us review it and explain and really get into what went wrong.
Yeah.
And why it's not good. And I think reviewing something with that regard could be insightful.
That has merit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or not, and it's not that great, and we'll see.
Well.
Yeah. It'll be interesting conversation to have, though.
Exactly. So it looks like, according to social media, Icy Rose put a poll up on. Ice, baby. I'm actually not sure where this poll was done, but the One Punch Man
I think it's Twitter and Facebook.
It is One Punch Man is in the top 4 from people voting on what shows that they want to see us pass, and and the Demon Slayer show is number 2. So out of the ones that are on here, so of course the one that I picked is not on here, but I feel like that's because most people just didn't watch it. I don't know.
Maybe
because
they couldn't watch it because they're at work or they were with their parents.
Well, I'll tell you what. I watched Isekai Quartet, and wow, that show is not super terrible. It is completely senseless. Like it is completely, I don't know, and that's on here. So,
I mean, I watched Nande Koko ni Sensei ga at the gym today on the treadmill, and halfway through episode 1, a lady went to the treadmill next to me and started her workout, and I stopped my run, moved over a couple, and restarted it because I could not deal with the shame of someone, even my proximity, possibly seeing what I was witnessing.
Yeah, yeah. I was at my diner and I was like, I come here every weekend. I can't have this happen.
We live in a society.
Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, because she's sitting on the toilet, and like they've got the sensor bar right over where her vagina would be, and he's like basically laying in her lap while, and then like I don't know, it's just ridiculous. It's just so ridiculous.
Oh joy, I can't wait to watch this.
Well, he ends up in the stall with her because the lock. She goes, "I locked it. Why are you?" And he goes, "The lock's broken." So he walked in, and then somehow
wait, he can't get back out.
He can't get out because the lock
works.
It gets
He
stuck.
can't crawl underneath.
I don't know. No, actually, in Japan, the stalls, the doors often go all the way to the floor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now he could have maybe climbed out over the top, but there were also people like playing outside and coming in and out. So he was basically just hiding. Yeah. Yep. And then
Demio Girl was also on this list. I think it's a cute watch, but man, I can't imagine having a conversation about it though. It'd be a really hard one to review.
All right. Well, we're clearly not doing mailbags again because we can't control ourselves. So I apologize.
Yeah.
But we're all guilty. But hey, we got 3 passes. and we have a whole lot more shows to go through from this season. So we're gonna be doing this for the next 3 weeks, and we will pick out the best 8 of what I think we can all agree is not the strongest spring season in record.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some good shows, but it's a very manageable amount of good stuff to watch. This is a spring season where atypically you can probably watch all of the good stuff that you would want, as opposed to being just like crushed by the weight of like having 14 anime that you want to watch during the spring. So, but they're setting us up for an amazing summer with Vinland Saga. What?
I'm so excited.
All right. Well, big thanks to Mason for coming by again and filling in for both of the boys. And
big thanks to Mason for coming in and failing in.
Yeah, we love your honesty. You know, your harsh criticism is welcome when it's merited.
I do. He does this in Manga Club. It is my sole goal to find something that he scores a 10 out of 10. It has not happened yet.
Wow. Maybe the well, you guys already did Monster.
We did Monster.
I wasn't at that one. I was at the end of it. I didn't do the full discussion. I was at the end of it, though.
What was the one that got the closest?
I would have to look at the list. Sanctuary was a pretty good time. It wasn't 10 out of 10, but Sanctuary was a throwback, and that was pretty darn good. Also, it reminds me, there's a spin-off manga of the new Sekiro game about the Habe the Undying.
Shit.
The guy you can kill to practice your sword skills. He's getting a manga, so hey.
Interesting.
There's that.
All right,
and then
guys.
Wolfen Cub was the best one that we've had so far.
Yes, for the reaction gifts. That's, folks.
All right. Well, if you want to contribute to the podcast and get our hentai episodes, which we're going to be doing one in about 10 minutes, you can go to our website, AAAPodcast.com/join, and support the podcast, and we will support you with 8 additional exclusive podcast episodes per month. So again, thank you to Mason for stopping by once again, and we will see you next time on the podcast with more impressions. So see you next weekend.
Bye, guys.
See everyone. Eat your vegetables. Floss your teeth.
That's right.
Bye.
Bye. Watch Game of Thrones for the North.